December 24th, 1968. The crew of Apollo 8 is in their third orbit of the moon. Their mission? Find and photograph landing sites for future Apollo landings. They've seen plenty of craters and moon dust so far. But as their spacecraft begins a planned roll maneuver.
Oh my God, look at that picture over there. There's the Earth coming up. Wow, that's crazy.
It's the first time anyone sees the Earth as a big ball in space. They almost miss the shot.
Hand me a roll of color quick. Oh man, that's crazy. Quick.
This whole Earth picture from moon orbit would forever change how we saw our home planet and ourselves. It sparked new passion for our environment and helped make sustainability a new focus of human endeavors.
You sure we got it now? Yeah, it'll come up again, I think.
Since then, we've used space as a vantage point to view and image our home planet from many different perspectives. In 1990, Voyager 1 looked back from 6 billion kilometers away to see the Earth as a pale blue dot against the blackness of space. In 2013, NASA's Cassini spacecraft popped a shot of Saturn that included a cameo appearance of Earth. Smile, everybody. Today, using dozens of satellites, space technology brings us constant reports on the state of our planet, our atmosphere, and our actions on the ground. With repeated observation, we've seen how human activity can change the world. But our tools get better, our science more precise, technology improves, and a focus on sustainable actions can make a difference, today and in the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Space Foundation CEO, Rear Admiral Retired Tom Zelibor.
Can I ask that everybody please be seated? Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention for a minute, please? Thank you all. Tonight is supposed to be a night of celebration, and we are going to get to that, and we have some awardees to recognize. But as many of you probably already know, we had a terrible tragedy in Afghanistan today. And we lost 13, at the last count, 13 of our brave men and women in Kabul, and many, many dozens more wounded, as well as Afghani civilians. I don't want to put a damper on this, but I think it is very illustrative of the people that we have out there trying to do great things for our country, and they put their lives at risk. And I would like to just lead all of you in a moment of silence for the people we lost. Thank you all for doing that with me. As somebody that retired from the military and many more in this room that have also, I think we know what this means. And we will now get on with our program. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage tonight's Master of Ceremonies and Space Foundation board member, Frank Culbertson.
Good evening, And Tom, thank you very much. Very appropriate and very timely. And I think we will all continue to remember our brave men and women who are still overseas and protecting us. But good evening and welcome to tonight's program. It's been a real pleasure to be with all of you this week. We have all heard and learned so much this week, but the best thing is seeing and connecting with so many of our friends, so many of our people we've worked with. It's been amazing. And I think we are all grateful to the Space Foundation for pulling this together and making it happen. And it's going to happen again in a few months, so you get to see each other again. But this has been fantastic. No matter how much technology we have at our disposal, nothing replaces actual in-person contact, even if face-to-face means mask to mask. I hope you all feel the same and have enjoyed the ability to reconnect in this very special community we are all a part of. The aerospace community is like no other in the way that our mutual respect, ability to communicate, and our shared excitement for our work allows us to continue to accomplish great things on and off the earth. I am honored to be at an illustrious table up front here. The Navy actually has the Air Force outnumbered this time, well, sort of. But we've got a lot of stars sitting at that table, and I appreciate General Shelton, Admiral Ellis, and Admiral Zelabar. But one of the most important people there is Dr. Martika Post, who is an aeronautics professor at the Air Force Academy. We still talk to each other, but it's great to have her here representing the Academy. It's a great rival we have. And so on September the 11th of this year, which is also a very important anniversary, Navy's going to beat Air Force. So before we begin this evening's celebration of two new inductees to the Space Technology Hall of Fame, I have the pleasure to introduce a special guest to begin this evening's program. He is someone who is known and has been helpful to many people in this room. He has been an entrepreneur and a business leader. He has created jobs and has had to make tough decisions, so he knows what many of you go through. He's been an educator, committed to reforms that will ensure children are prepared for a future that comes with competition and challenges in many forms. And he's been a public servant, representing the interests of diverse constituents, always seeking bipartisan, pragmatic solutions to local, national, and international problems. His independent streak, which is famous, has helped solidify his reputation as a problem solver and as an ally of those who are determined to do what is right for his constituents and for the country. Since 2009, he has served in the United States Senate, where today he is the senior citizen for this great state of Colorado. Please give a warm welcome to the stage to Senator Michael Bennet. Senator.
Well, thank you, Frank, for that very, very warm introduction. It is an honor to join you all tonight. And I think we ought to start by having another round of applause for the organizers and for the sponsors who have pulled off another successful conference. I also wanted to start with a brief word about Afghanistan. The terror attacks in Kabul today were reprehensible, and I know that we are all profoundly saddened by the loss of 13 brave American troops and many Afghans, and the perpetrators will pay for what they've done. And in the meantime, there will be time to examine the lessons that we can take by people like professors at the Air Force Academy, not only from the last few weeks, but from the last 20 years. But for now, our focus should be on swiftly finishing the evacuation of Americans and the Afghan partners who sacrificed everything to support our mission. And I can think of nothing that would honor the people who served our country in Afghanistan more than making sure we keep our commitment to the interpreters and others who stood with us over the past 20 years. And let me say also, as someone who represents a state that is home to one of the highest percentage of veterans in this country, that whatever one thinks about the decision of the President to bring this war to an end, and reasonable minds will certainly disagree, this is a very, very difficult moment for our veterans and their families, and I hope we keep them in mind in the months ahead and express our profound gratitude for their service. I know Secretary Kendall and General Raymond and General Dickinson are working every day. They're working right now to secure America's leadership in space. And we need to support them in this work because we don't have a moment to lose. The Senate Intelligence Committee, on which I serve, is regularly briefed about how China and Russia are racing to eclipse our leadership in space. Last December, Space Command publicly warned that Russia had tested an anti-satellite missile. Our Intelligence Committee tells us Russia continues to train its military space elements and field new anti-satellite weapons to disrupt and degrade U.S. and allied space capabilities. Russia is developing and testing an array of counter-space weapons, from jamming and cyberspace capabilities to directed energy weapons. At the same time, the IC assesses that, quote, Beijing is working to match or exceed U.S. capabilities in space. Space is a hallmark of their China First policy, and they're forming partnerships across the globe through their, quote, Space Silk Road. And we know Beijing is pursuing several ambitions for space, including lunar, interplanetary, and near-Earth asteroid missions, space station construction, a national satellite internet project, and developing reusable space transportation systems. Those aren't projects for 2030 or 2050. They're for 2025. And I bring this up not to depress anybody in this room, but to challenge all of us. Everyone in this room knows what powerful capabilities exist today in space, and the even more powerful capabilities over the horizon. It's why we cannot allow China and Russia, totalitarian governments with no regard for values like privacy or free speech or even democracy itself, to set the rules of the road for space in the 21st century. That would be a disaster for humanity, and America has to lead. And we're not going to do it by copying Beijing or Moscow and telling businesses what to innovate or telling scientists what they have to research. We're going to do it through our enduring strengths as a democracy and as a capitalist economy, a dynamic ecosystem of innovation, world-class universities, and yes, a strategic federal government. I know that might sound like an oxymoron to some people, but if we're serious about America's leadership in space, we have to expect more from Washington. And at a minimum, Washington has to make decisions about our space assets based not on politics, but on our objective national security interests. We can't afford to squander time, talent, or taxpayer money when the threats and competition in space continue to grow on a daily basis. We don't have the time. And it's why I've repeatedly raised concerns about the last administration's basing decision for Space Command, and I've called on President Biden and the Pentagon to review that decision. Because I strongly believe that any fair assessment would conclude that Colorado is the natural home for Space Command. There is a reason we host the largest space symposium in the world. We have America's largest space economy per capita. We're home to over 500 space companies and suppliers, including 9 of the leading aerospace contractors. Here in Colorado Springs, the Air Force Academy has the top undergraduate program for aerospace engineering, and Colorado is the home to the National Space Defense Center, U.S. Northern Command, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, Cheyenne Mountain Space Force Station, Buckley Space Force Base, and dare I say it, this beautiful hotel. We are the nexus of space operations for both the intelligence community and the Department of Defense, a partnership that will only grow in the years ahead. Those are the facts, and Washington should let them drive the basing decision, not politics. Beyond that, Washington needs to scale up our investment in space, and we can start by passing the President's budget for NASA, which would be the largest in American history. Government needs to support and reflect private sector innovation in space rather than lag behind. And to do this, we need to make the government much easier to work with, from acquisitions to procurement, to giving small businesses better access to classified facilities so they can get their foot in the door. And finally, and I feel this strongly as the former school superintendent in Denver, we have to scale up our investment in STEM education and apprenticeships to create the skilled workforce America needs. But Washington can't do this on its own. Our leadership in space has always relied on a close partnership with the people in this room. So just as the government needs to do more, this moment calls on everyone here to lead, because the next decade will be as critical for America's space leadership in this century as the 60s were to the last. We can't wake up a decade from now and find our leadership eclipsed by another power. We have to strive for a future where our space program, as it did in the 60s, spins off commercial ideas that produce broad-based economic growth here at home, where our kids and our grandkids can look up at the stars and see a secure and peaceful domain, one where America leads with our allies on behalf of the free world, a place that still brims with mystery and opportunity for humanity, as it did when our parents and grandparents answered Kennedy's challenge 60 years ago. I thank everybody who's here tonight, and congratulations on another successful conference.
Thank you so much. Those are great words.
Thanks.
Really appreciate it. So you feel pretty strongly about this, huh? Senator Bennett, I can't thank you enough for pulling together with your passion and commitment to what we're doing, kind of the sense of what this conference has been, what this symposium has been. And your sense of urgency that came through in your speech, I think, is extremely important for all of your colleagues in the House and Senate to hear as often as possible, and for the other branches of government to understand. So thank you for what you're doing to support what we do. That was a great speech. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to invite you to enjoy your meal. We'll begin the program shortly and honor our 2 new inductees to the Space Technology Hall of Fame. As Arnold said, I'll be back. Okay, we're going to pick up with the second half of the program tonight. And again, a very warm welcome for being here this evening. I hope you've enjoyed your meal and the conversations that are obviously still continuing, but that's okay. I can talk over you. In a moment, I'm going to introduce this evening's speaker, but I'd like to just say one more thing about some of Senator Bennett's remarks and Admiral Zelabar's recognition of what's going on in Afghanistan right now. And I told him I'd probably go off script, so here we go. Some of you may know I was the commander of the space station on 9/11 20 years ago, and which obviously was a very tragic day for this country and is connected to what's going on right now. But also significantly, particularly for you warfighters here, I was on orbit 4 weeks later, and I had a few classmates that were fleet commanders and brigade commanders, and I had a little inkling of what might be going on. And as I flew over Afghanistan one night, and Afghanistan was easy to spot because it was the darkest spot in that part of the world with no lights, I began to see the attack on the Taliban. And our warfighters from the ships and the B-52s and the cruise missiles, and eventually on the ground, were producing some really big flashes on the ground and some big explosions. And we stopped the Taliban from ever attacking us again over the last 20 years. That's a very significant thing. And we owe a great debt to the people who made that trip and did that for us. So thank you for remembering that. It is now my pleasure to introduce this evening's corporate host, Jim Chilton, Senior Vice President of Space and Launch for the Boeing Company. I've known and worked with Jim for a long, long time. He's younger than me, but still a long time. His leadership and that of Boeing has crossed generations and programs, always pushing the envelope to create new technologies, defining new frontiers, and paving the way for new entrants, for students and entrepreneurs to find their place in the space community. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Jim Chilton of the Boeing team.
For those very kind words. And thank you, Senator Bennett, for an energetic and rousing speech. We appreciate your leadership and energy, and I would be remiss not to thank Chairman Thornton, the Space Foundation Board, and Admiral Tom Zellebor, who was the main man to host all of this along with his staff. I'm sure we'll get a chance to give them a round of applause, but the women and men of Boeing are very grateful for what the foundation does and for what all the guardians, military leaders, and my industry colleagues and space enthusiasts bring to the Space Symposium. I am grateful. Tonight, we celebrate technology. It's the Technology Hall of Fame dinner. And so I will ask your indulgence to let me kind of set the tone for us. It's been a little over 2 years since we came together at a Space Symposium here at the Broadmoor. And everyone knows those stories, but a lot has happened. Technology marches on. And so I just kind of want to remind all of us what happened since we last convened. As we were planning this symposium last year, this dinner was going to be about the 20th anniversary of the space station. And by that I mean our species has lived off-planet continuously for 20 years. And I'm old enough to... NASA led, but a complete team sport, 15 or more nations, too many companies to count, anchoring new business models. Since last year, we've had 14 more astronauts and cosmonauts visit, new power system, new technology coming off that platform continuously. Moving away from human programs, at this conference, I know we've already talked the exciting Mars Perseverance, the Ingenuity helicopter, the Chinese landings on the dark side of the moon. I'd like to remind everybody that the Parker Solar Probe started doing her thing. That is a foundational mission that was conceived even before NASA existed, and the technology finally got there. The great people at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab put that together. Now, a man-made object, and I believe it was the fastest to ever leave Earth, left on a Delta IV Heavy, and since has flown through the sun's corona 6 or 8 times. We'll continue to do it. Just think about the stunning achievement there. Also in the technology realm, and if I am forgetting anyone, there's no offense. I'm trying to hit the things that took all of us collaborating in some way. I'd like to give a hat tip to the U.S. Air Force, U.S. Space Force, and the X-37B team. 5th mission, the key achievement, I think, in technology since we last convened was that space plane landed autonomously coming through North American FAA-controlled airspace, autonomously hypersonic speeds to a pinpoint landing at the Kennedy Space Center. Not a small technological achievement. It was recognized with a Collier Trophy. and I think it would be fun for us space enthusiasts. The Collier Trophy in the U.S. is given every year to the best achievement in aeronautics or astronautics. And you know, as space people, we were a bit expeditionary. We won that for being the best in astronautics and aeronautics. So, way to go, space technology team. And I'd be remiss if I didn't echo how much we owe to our Lifetime Space Achievement Award winner, Patty Gray Smith. Since we last convened, we have seen commercial space enterprises take humans to space. It's nothing but fantastic. We saw New Shepard from Blue Origin, we saw Crew Dragon from SpaceX, Unity from Virgin Galactic, and we at Boeing are working on Starliner and hope to join the team. We'll do so when it's safe, and we're confident. In the launch arena, we've seen a lot come in the last year. We saw the great team at Virgin Orbit, led by Dan Hart, give us a new type of launch system. That all happened during the pandemic, global pandemic, when health was at the forefront and vaccine technologies emerged, but the space technology teams kept marching. So to close, I'm going to look ahead a little bit. If we look ahead before we convene again in April, in the satellite world at this conference, we've talked a lot about non-geostationary orbits. We're seeing deployment of LEO constellations. By my count, we're going to see OneWeb go over 50% deployment. I may not have the number right, but they'll go 50 to 70% before we reconvene. And we'll watch SES put their MEO-based O3b mPOWER system in place. So while the pandemic rages, we did a lot. As we look forward, we're going to see space transition to being a big network. We'll see heavy lifters coming. We can expect to see NASA Space Launch System and hopefully SpaceX, Starship, and Super Heavy emerge. And finally, this is kind of a personal favorite, again, from the stars at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, we're going to see humanity's first planetary defense mission leave Earth. This is NASA's Double Asteroid Redirection Test, launches weeks away. It is chock full of technology I won't list, so I don't go on too long, but I would like to let you know that the technology is informed foundationally by the U.S. Department of Defense missile defense approaches. And I believe if General Dickinson were here, he would expect a hooah over all of that. So I'll give you a moment to let that all soak in, because the people, the award winners tonight are part of all of that, as are you. And we should go confidently forward with all the challenges we have, knowing we can work together and create new things for humanity. And with that, with your indulgence, I'll ask you we prepared a video from Boeing to try to get a little rah-rah going before we start talking about technology heroes. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Jim. That was a great presentation, and as always, a wonderful movie. And yeah, let's go Artemis. I also want to thank the Boeing company and Jim, whatever your responsibility was for how well the hardware worked on orbit, especially the hull, which kept out the vacuum, and the micrometeorite shield that kept the meteors that were headed our way during the Leonid storm from getting in. So it kept us alive. So Boeing, thank you very much. So thank you for sharing those words and insights with us and being tonight's program sponsor. We are very grateful for your support and for Boeing's helping shape the future of aerospace in many, many ways. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event of this evening's program, the induction of two new technologies into the Space Technology Hall of Fame. Established in 1988, the Space Technology Hall of Fame recognizes the life-changing technologies emerging from global space programs, honors the scientists, engineers, and innovators responsible for it, and communicates to the public the importance of these technologies as a return on our investment in space exploration, which is extremely important. All of us in this room and all the others who have been a part of this week's Space Symposium can testify to the positive impact of space technologies and how they have changed the world. But explaining those rewards to the public does not always happen as effectively as it should. In partnership with NASA and others, the Space Foundation and the Space Technology Hall of Fame work to remedy that, not by just sharing the history and accomplishments of world and life-changing space-related technology breakthroughs, but also by sharing their stories and the impact they have made. In this room tonight and around the world are lives that have been saved and improved by some of the prior Hall of Fame technologies. There are inductees who have created new products, services, and companies that have revolutionized jobs, supply chains, public safety, commerce, and much more. There is no continent, country, or community that is left untouched by space technology. And tonight we get to celebrate two new entrants into the Hall of Fame. Before we recognize our 2021 inductees, we must thank a group of people who play a crucial part in making this program such a success. Our esteemed panel of judges, who generously contribute their time and expertise to help select our inductees. Please hold your applause until we've recognized all of our 2021 Space Technology Hall of Fame judges, but feel free to stand as we run your names down the screen. And if they don't run, then I'll read them. Todd Prost, Keith Cowing, Dipana Gandhi, Meredith Garofalo, Heidi Hollowell, Angelique Johnson, Iroka Chidima Joy, Tom Roeder, and Colonel Luke Sauter of the U.S. Air Force Academy. Thank you all for your generous support of this important space awareness program. It does take a lot of time. To give you all a bit more background on this year's technology inductees, Fisher Space Pens, and protective coating for ceramic materials, emissive, and how they are bettering lives around the world, we have a short video to share with you. Please roll it.
When we explore outer space, we develop tools and techniques to get there, live there, and prosper there. Space exploration leads us to discover new ways of doing things and re-engineer existing technologies to meet the challenges and rigors of space. Computers, healthcare, communication. We had them before we launched into space. But the urgent and unique demands of space inspired us to build things better, stronger, more efficient, and safer. From airbags to sunglasses, pure water to pure science, space technology is integral to everyday life.
Space is in the background of almost everything we do. And when you realize how some of these technologies, especially if you look at things like GPS, you don't realize that that controls the entire stock market. You don't realize that anymore your refrigerator and your Alexa won't run without it. It's so important.
The Space Technology Hall of Fame is an opportunity to highlight technologies that were started from the space industry. It's quite remarkable to see some of these unique niche technologies and then realize how big of an application they have within the greater context of society now. And it all started with the space industry.
Since 1988, Space Foundation has honored hundreds of individuals and organizations who helped develop the dozens of technologies that make up the Space Technology Hall of Fame. These scientists, mathematicians, engineers, and researchers in biology, geology, medicine, material science, communication, energy, public safety, transportation, and many other fields have dedicated their efforts to inventing and improving tools we use to explore space. It's really nice that their efforts have improved life here on Earth, too.
It's just so good to know that there are so many people out there in this world working so hard every day to make all of our lives better. Everyone who's involved in this process deserves our thanks.
Tonight, we honor two uniquely sustainable space technologies. One was invented by a presidential candidate and works underwater. The other is an ultra-thin barrier to extreme heat that helps conserve energy in the hottest of places. Meet inventor, entrepreneur, and policy wonk, Paul C. Fisher. He lost his bid to be U.S. President against John F. Kennedy in 1960's New Hampshire elections and lost his Chicago ballpoint pen business to a massive fire. But he found our latest Hall of Fame technology in his sleep, in a dream patented over 50 years ago that still flies on every manned mission into space. The Fisher Space Pen solved a problem that challenged NASA astronauts: how to write in zero-G. On Earth, ink flows through a pen thanks to gravity. Ballpoint pens don't work in space, and pencils and grease pens weren't much better. Paul Fisher's inspired innovation was in a sealed, pressurized ink cartridge. It's extremely thick and won't flow until pressure from the writing tip forces the ink out without leaking or smearing. Fisher invested over $1 million of his own money to develop his pen. After extensive testing by NASA, Fisher sold 400 of his precision pens to NASA for a discounted price of about $2.50 each. Apollo 7 astronaut Walter Cunningham was one of the first to use the Fisher Space Pen in orbit. He's still a fan. Each writing instrument is still produced at the family-owned firm in Henderson, Nevada. The manufacturing process might look old school, but the durable and exquisitely machined instruments write upside down, underwater, in extreme temperatures from -30 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and of course, in zero-G. Scuba divers use them underwater. Food distributors use them in industrial freezers. Law enforcement writes with them in their cars in the cold winter months. And the Fisher Space Pen is guaranteed for life. How's that for sustainability? Spacecraft are launched into orbit with flames and fire that can reach 3,400 degrees Kelvin. And when they return to Earth, friction with the atmosphere can make the undersides of spacecraft scorching hot, too. In the 1990s, researchers at Ames Research Center devised a silicon-based protective coating for the X-33 and X-34 prototype planes, flying at 15 times the speed of sound. The coating had to be lightweight, durable, and able to withstand temperatures of 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, twice the temperature protection demanded on the space shuttle. Ames researchers called it the Protective Coating for Ceramic Materials, or PCCM. It could be applied in a very thin layer, was extremely lightweight, and highly stable. Most importantly, it was very effective, radiated heat away from the coated ceramic insulation, and protected the plane from the extreme heat. NASA theorized there might be other commercial applications for PCCM and made the technology available for licensure. Enter Dr. John Olver. He sold his engineering consulting company and was looking for a new venture. While perusing the NASA website, he noticed a licensing opportunity at Ames Research Center for this high emissivity coating used on spacecraft. He called NASA to learn more, and the concept for EmaShield was born. With support from researchers at Virginia Tech University, the material was modified so it could be applied as a spray and stick to metal, greatly expanding its potential uses. Olver & Company also extended the working life of the material that improved its use. The first application for EmaShield's new coating in 2001 was to protect building materials for firewall applications. Since then, the company has continued to expand the markets for the product. Everything from clothing and race car parts to heavy industrial applications in iron and steel plants, refractories, petrochemical facilities, ceramic fibers, and power generation. By applying EmaShield's unique products, end users can save up to 30% on their energy costs. Water-based, energy-efficient, used to forge steel and crack molecules, EmaShield is another sustainable product derived from space technology. Tonight, we induct into the Space Technology Hall of Fame the Fisher Space Pen. Protective coating for ceramic material.
What the Hall of Fame does is it brings out these hidden gems of technology that arose from the space program and now have done so much in our lives.
Space Foundation is proud to honor the organizations and individuals whose efforts and innovations turn those products and services originally developed for space into things that improve life here on our home planet.
At Space Foundation, we advocate for innovation to better life on Earth.
Great video. Obviously, truly outstanding technologies and well deserving of recognition. Let me add two more important points about this evening's awards. As a former frequent flyer into space, I and all other space travelers have an abiding respect for the materials science that goes into protective coatings. Every life that we launch and land has depended upon that craftsmanship. And so on behalf of all of those space travelers and for the lives on the ground you have touched, I say thank you. And regardless of your language, having a good writing instrument to capture a thought at any time or on any orbit is always a priority. The Fisher family pioneered that, and by the way, in the process, helped inspire one of the greatest Seinfeld episodes ever. I recommend do yourself a favor after tonight's program, go to YouTube and type in Seinfeld and Space Pen. You'll enjoy it. Kathy and I used their products every day that we were on orbit, and I think between us we probably lost about 500 of them over the years in the simulator or on orbit, but they always worked when we needed them to. To present the organizational awards, I want to invite the CEO of the Space Foundation, Admiral Tom Zellabor, to join me here on the stage. Yay, Tom. In recognition of their innovative efforts, the following organizations are officially inducted into the Space Technology Hall of Fame 2021. Representatives, please come up as your name is called. Joining us tonight to accept on behalf of Fisher Space Pens is Matt Fisher of Fisher Space Pens and NASA Johnson Space Center Director Vanessa White. Please come to the stage. I always learn new dance steps at an award ceremony. Joining us tonight to accept on behalf of Protective Coating for Ceramic Materials is Emis Shield CEO, Dr. John Olver, and NASA Ames Deputy Center Director, Carol Carroll. Please come to the stage. Wow, we didn't drop anything. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the class of 2021 for the Space Technology Hall of Fame. Another round of applause, please. So congratulations to all of you. I'm supposed to turn this over to Tom now, but just stand by, signal Charlie there for a minute. Delta later. I'm going to go a little bit off script here. As a member of the Board of Directors of the Space Foundation, I would like to take a moment to recognize a very important group of people who are here with us this evening, the Space Foundation team. I'd like to read a statement that the board has issued in recognition of what they have done to pull this off and make this happen. The Board of Directors of the Space Foundation recognizes and thanks the Space Foundation team for their extraordinary efforts over the last 18 months in successfully steering the foundation through a global pandemic, and especially for making the 36th Symposium a resounding success. Yeah, yes. This incredible week was made possible by your resilience. In response to the pandemic, you successfully launched a virtual platform through Space Symposium 365, which I'm sure many of you have participated in, and replanned this event multiple times. Thank you, Admiral Zelibar. And the team is still standing. We thank you for everything you have done to bring the space community together. Let's give a round of applause to the entire Space Foundation team. So now it's my pleasure to turn the podium over to Admiral Tom Zelibar. Tom, I would never steal your thunder, even as a wingman. Check 6. And it's all over to you, Tom. Thank you so much. It's been a great time this week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. We're very humbled by that, and I'll get to that a little more here later. As you might notice, I'm not going to stand behind the podium. I'm channeling my inner John Hyten. We'll see how I do. But good evening, everyone, and I wanted to address you one last time to thank each and every one of you for your support this week. The energy level and excitement were absolutely palpable the entire time we were here, and we couldn't be more excited about that. In fact, we're going to get to do it again in April. I always learn at every symposium and many things, and I reaffirm many other things during the week, and I'd like to highlight just a few of those for you. That many of the speakers experienced what I did during my first symposium as the CEO. And what happens is when you stand on this stage, these lights come on, and you can't see past the first row of people. It's really unnerving, and I remember the very first time that happened to me, I just froze, and what felt like I was standing here for 10 minutes, it was probably 10 seconds or less. So I asked for a favor here. Can I have the technical people kind of bring up the lights a little bit so I can actually see who I'm talking to? Second thing I've heard here, and I know, space is hard. If you aren't challenged, you're not going to get to the next level of performance. We also heard about one team, one fight. We also experienced the other day, or actually probably it was last night, that in October, the United States military is going to be losing a vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs that is one of the most inspirational leaders that I've ever met in my life. I hope you had the opportunity to hear his comments. If you didn't, please use our virtual platform because you can see that and we can look at it time and time again, but I think it would be worth your time. And that platform is kind of an archive, a virtual archive for us of all the remarks that have been made this entire week. The next thing was partnerships. Partnerships are incredibly important, and that's what we are all here to do, and to build relationships. And I hope that all of you found more of those than you need to keep your businesses going and successful. Innovation and challenging assumptions, they're key to our future success. As much as that is about new technologies, it's ultimately about the people because they are the ultimate drivers. And as General Hyten said, all you need to do is let them go. We are the best military and civil and commercial businesses in the world. And we all have that same mission. It's to make space useful for us, not just for all of our other needs, but here on Earth. And then more businesses conducted here and deals are made this week than any other time. I get told dozens of times how important this week is to advancing the business of everybody in this room. Humans are social creatures, and we love to be face to face. And even you heard it earlier, mask to mask. I like seeing people in 3D versus 2D, okay? It's so much better because you can actually see what your audience or the people you're interacting with, what they're thinking because you can see body language. But that said, we've had a huge virtual audience also, and we want to thank them for being part of this with us. So to do an event like this, Space Foundation has the best partner in the world, and it's the Broadmoor, and I can't thank them enough. Please give them a round of applause. And most importantly to me, I have the honor and privilege to lead the most amazing team of people I've ever been around, and any CEO would be proud to have this team. So as it was mentioned a bit ago, sitting among you tonight are about 40 members of my team and their guests of the Space Foundation's team. They're easily recognizable by the cuts, bruises, blisters on their feet, 1,000-mile stares, and maybe even now they may have a slight smile on their face, knowing they have just successfully completed one of the most difficult events to plan and execute in the world, the annual Space Symposium. Something that you need to know about these people. We've had, like many businesses, a lot of people turnover or other reasons that people have gone during the pandemic. 50% of the people that work for the Space Foundation have never even seen a symposium, yet they pulled this off. It's amazing, and I just can't thank them enough. So I would ask that the lights come up a little more, and all 40 of those people and their guests please stand and be recognized. Thank you all. Well, we did it. It's amazing. We completed a week that I was told would never happen. Don't ever tell a fighter guy that something's not going to happen. I'm telling you. We'll go to great lengths to prove people wrong. But it would not have been possible if without everybody in this room supporting it and my team that is just did amazing at executing it. And guess what? It's only 221 days till we get to do it again. So the opening for the 37th symposium will be April 4th in 2022. And I just once again want to thank you. Safe travels to everybody as you go home, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks.